Also, for those new to the industry, for watching fuel needs for our producers, since they are using diesel, we watch heating oil for our contracts. So keep that in mind here, guys. But goes right along with unleaded gas usually. But for the most part, make sure to watch heating oil for your diesel fuel needs here. As far as a lot of things going up here next week, on Wednesday, we've actually got 4 separate reports. And I'm going to say exactly what will be in these reports as far as coverage, and also what will not be in these reports. Annual production summary. USDA goes back and actually revises all of production numbers for the past year. This is everything from planted acres, harvested, yield, and also total production. So that's one separate report right there. USDA will also do their monthly regular supply demand updates. In other words, changing exports and things like that as well. The real kicker, and actually the tough one for all the analysts this past 3 quarters, were the quarterly grain stocks. Since we work on a September 1st starts new marketing year, USDA surveys these guys and asks them, as of December 1st, what do you have at the end of the first quarter? What's left over? And it's actually the toughest one of the entire group to get right now. Usually this one, the market usually gets this very well, but this past year, we don't know. So from my standpoint, this can be tough to take. We actually do get our first crack at 2011 plantings on the winter wheat seedings report. This will only cover winter wheat. This will not cover spring wheat or anything else, and it won't cover any spring planted grains either. So as at bottom here says, not covering anything 2011/12. Actually, I should say nothing for corn and beans on this one here. So we will have our first crack at 2011 winter wheat acres. Just want to clarify that. And we should have estimates in the hand from these news wires. Average guess is Friday, but certainly by Monday is when we're going to get these in our hands here. So keep that in mind here. We've got this coming up here. As far as corn, a few quick charts. One covering Argentina. So we got some reports out today saying these guys are lowering maybe some ideas on corn yield, or at least corn is having some trouble. As far as temps lined up this week, kind of mild actually for corn pollinating weather. We do have some 90s later on, but for the most part, this is not going to be like next week or like last week. Last week we had 95 up to 100 degrees in temps. So mild temps here. As far as chances of rain, we've got some light chances here actually Tuesday, Wednesday. You won't really get anything major until maybe this weekend here at the most. But for the most part, going through pollination, the way it looks at right now, these are not bad temps. So these guys have made some dramatic comments in the past newswires, past few days. That certainly was true for last week's weather, but this week's weather is kind of mild. Most guys will say, well, maybe the damage is already done, though. So we've still got some question marks regarding that. As far as this overall longer-term picture for support for corn, we still have the fact that energy prices are moving higher, and of course ethanol, and of course that means corn is going higher as well, as long as this is going on. So keep this in mind. This is still a longer-term supportive issue here for us. One thing that a couple guys in the office the past few weeks have rightly pointed out is that, wow, we remember last January's report was a time where we topped this market. Wasn't that the right thing the last couple Januaries? Here's 2009, and this is the using the July contract. You can use in March, but I just want to look at the July here. We peaked actually on January 5th, so the very first week of January. And on this one here, 2009, we actually did drop off 17 cents down to here. It's actually the day before that January 12th report. And the January 12th report is what really nailed this one down here in terms of that move. 17 cents or 4%. Last year, the 2010 contract, we actually peaked on January 4th, so keep this in mind. January 5th, 2010, it was January 4th, right here on this day. We did drop off a very mild couple cents here, 2.5 cents, going into this January 11th close right here. And it was the January 12th report, which really did a big deal for us. So this is a big report. I'm not going to say this is going to top us this time. Certainly not anything like that here. But keep in mind, this is a big deal here, what we have coming up next week.
Hey, Rich?
Yes.
Do you remember off the top of your head what those were they bullish or bearish reports?
And Jim is saying, gosh, Rich.
Let's check your memory, Rich.
Let's take a look at this here and see what you got lined up. And actually, Jim, I can't remember off the top of my head here what nailed these reports down.
2010 was the bearish. They surprised that the crop was bigger.
It was. They had the revision there for the crop itself. That is right. And I can't remember if they might have changed some demand numbers, too. 2009, here we are. 2009 We had that dramatic move down in the previous fall. We bottomed in December and made that moderate move up. I could have swore we had some South American news going on at this time here too.
I think it talks I was working the farm show.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just kind of keep this in mind. This is a big report. Early guesses right now. For right now, and we don't have, these are not our official numbers. These will come out in a couple days. For Allendale's special estimates, if we don't change anything regarding production, keeping production the same, we actually have a net decline coming for corn ending stocks. We're noting that ethanol usage is actually better than expected right now. Exports are running weaker, just a little bit there. Net balance, a decline. So we have for corn ending stocks. Overall for corn, we're still bullish. We're still saying 650 at this point for our target for nearby contracts. I will point out one respected guy, Rich Feltus of R.J. O'Brien now. He said he was quoted in the newswires saying he expects grain prices to surpass 2008. You know, from my perspective, Rich is actually a very solid guy. Of any of the extremely crazy analysts in this industry, Rich is probably one of the few I actually would respect. So I will point out that this is the first extremely bullish quote I've heard from a quote-unquote respected analyst guy. So this is not usually a guy who throws stuff out which will look crazy. So as far as this goes, our take on it, we're probably not going to surpass 2008. In our opinion, we need to have grain or ethanol prices and energy prices above 2008 before we can have that discussion. Over on the soybean side, Argentine soybean crop, kind of interesting to point out, USDA actually increased the size of their estimate of soybean production last couple of months, up to 52 million metric tons. Rosario Grain Exchange has 49.5. So maybe on this report, we might see USDA take a little bit off their Argentine soybean number here. Keep in mind, though, as far as this issue right now, this is still mainly a corn problem right now with Argentina. If they get rains next few weeks, it could save a good chunk of this crop. For soybeans right now, if we don't make any changes to production right now, we're expecting actually not much of a change here in terms of this demand or in terms of any stock number lined up for next week's report. One thing we were excited about was the crush rate. We expected some higher numbers up until the latest number we got from U.S. Census Bureau actually showed numbers a little less than we expected. So with this in mind, we don't really view much of a change on the soybean number here. For wheat, here's what's the interesting point is the 6 to 10 day temperature maps, 6 to 10 day. And usually in this you see some portions being normal, which will be white, and they'll go below normal, then they'll go severely below normal. There's actually no part of normal at all on this entire map here. All these are below normal temps. And the most severe of the worst problem is going to be in this plains area. Of course, that's why we have people overnight who are getting pretty excited about this crop right now. As of this point, you have obviously a lot of disagreement regarding how much snow cover is out here. But keep in mind, lined up for next weekend and early next week are some severe temps for the plains. And extremely dark blue. This is the darkest blue I think I've ever seen in this chart here. So just keep that in mind here right now. The other supportive thing for wheat. Quotes saying Queensland picking up dramatic flooding and impacting transportation. That certainly is true. However, as we point out to the brokers and to the report this morning, 8% is what Queensland attributed to winter production or to wheat production 20 years ago. Currently, it's down to 5%. So yeah, they've got transportation problems, but transporting 5% of the crop, that's not a big major issue here at this point here. So we're still more excited about these areas in South Wales, Victoria, and all these guys down on the eastern edge. So Queensland, it's a great story for newswires to cover. It's a great story to show pictures of flooding, but it's not a major impact on price. One thing which we will be talking about more importantly is this winter wheat acres number here lined up for next Wednesday. I'm not going to say our exact number yet because we have this, so we won't release this until our annual conference. The official number here, actually until we release our numbers for the estimate for the report next Wednesday. Those will be out in a couple of days. However, you should see some numbers up anywhere from 2 to 5 million extra acres for the winter wheat number here. So keep that in mind. The reason why we had one drop coming 2 years ago due to lower prices. This drop here was due to all those problems we had last fall planting. We had a severe moisture problem.
One question, Rich, I know a lot of customers are going to ask. where are those acres coming from that we figure? We're gaining them in wheat. We lose them out of
And keep in mind,
corn, sorghum, beans, or
keep in mind, you don't have to have a net change. We talked about this before. You don't have to have a net change in other crops to make it up exactly. You're actually going to have a net increase among all 28 crops of over 5 to 7 million extra acres. Brand new acres, which come out of this seriously nowhere. In terms of how we're getting these type of numbers, we're going to have a good jump in winter wheat acres. We're going to have a moderate jump in corn acres. B number is about even. You're going to have a good 1 million acre jump in cotton acres. So what's all this coming from? You're going to have 1 million acres out of hay, 1 million acres out of small grains, like all those no-name crops, and those issues. So, yeah, you've got 2 coming out, and somehow you're getting 5 to 7 back in. It doesn't make sense. However, that's the way it works.